But to kind of switch gears a little bit from healing into actual, talking a little bit more about science and medicine, I think Elder Varner touched on it very briefly. But does science threaten faith, and or does it reveal God?
Ooh.
And how would we challenge, maybe not even challenge, that's kind of a strong word, but how do we have that discussion with non-believers, right, who are very science and fact-based and what we know about God to be true?
I feel like it definitely can be both. It can reveal God because he created us and he gave us, people who have the talent to do science and study and discover, and the wonderful doctors that we have. He created them, whether they're believers or not.
Right.
And so it reveals him through them that they have this talent that God has given them to do that. And then the other side, it's like, okay, it's science. So it's like, I can see it. It's in front of me. I can prove and see, I can test it.
It's tangible.
Yeah. And so those who are not believers, they're all for it, because it's like, why would I not believe something that's in front of me that I can see, and
Right.
God is faith too, so it's like, we may not always be able to see what God's doing. So I think it can definitely challenge both.
Yeah, I would say to Dominique's point, I think when you are talented at something, let's just say basketball, right? You can shoot, you can do a layup, and then when you go to school, you learn all these different skills, these techniques, you learn all this science stuff, right? And you're able to apply it, right? What we call healing people. And so sometimes you can, think it's you. But there comes a time in everybody's journey, admit it or not, that some things are just out of your control. You cannot explain it.
Yeah.
And so sometimes for those believers that are, that are healthcare providers, right, in any capacity, physical therapy, mental health, right, you get to a point where that issue or that illness, that was miraculous. I cannot explain it, right? Either I witness it or the patient comes back and share that testimony
Right.
with, and I'm baffled. But I know as a believer, I know where that source comes from, right? The healing, the ultimate miracle.
Yeah,
comes
and
from.
I won't share a story of mine. I'll share a story of someone at the church that we're all very familiar with, which is Lady Demetrius, our first lady, and talking about her daughter, who is now, a grown woman now, but when she was little, that she just fell ill, and the doctors they didn't know why, and she was very, very sick. Like, it wasn't like, and even Pastor Keith talks about how he felt like she stood in the gap and had more faith, but just that miraculously it just went away. And it was something that they never found out to this day, like what she was so sick for. And we have quite a few people in our church, actually. I think even Dominique's, grandma has her own testimony to share, and Pastor Carolyn right now, and really fascinating things. But that has to be really interesting as a healthcare provider to see, like, as somebody who knows medicine and knows the science behind it, but then it still can't be explained.
Exactly. And you know what, Ashley, what happens, we call that unexplained, or we have another medical term for it, idiopathic. I don't know, I can't explain it, but it did happen. You can't deny it because you see all the classic signs and symptoms, but at the end of the day, I can't explain what happened. Or the reason why things turned around.
Right.
I'm excited because guess what? At the end of the day, it's all about the patient.
Right.
But sometimes I can explain things from a very analytical, scientific point of view, but then there are some things that are just beyond our comprehension, right? If we admit it or not.
Right.
When I think about science and faith, I think a lot of times science confirms. It's like trying to understand like God's creation and the magnificent order. Like, I think about the term like spontaneous order. Like in our world, like things just have a natural order, and how it points to a creator. And like we dig and we learn about what God created and how He created it. And kind of how we can help support it. And I think God gave us like the dominion and the creativity to do these things. I think it's good. Now we can go too far, and I think, but all that to say, like, I really think that like science and medicine, it can really point back to our creator. and just, I don't know, I just think about how complex the human body is, and like
That's crazy.
you got like
Amazing.
electrical impulses going
Yeah.
through myelin and all these different neurons and all this different stuff, like, and it's like it's incredible. And to be able to learn and know more about that, like, it's like, man, thank you, Lord. Like, there is somebody that designed this thing.
Oh yeah.
I learn a lot from a lot of other people who are a lot smarter than me or just know more about more science stuff. But in doing, research for this and trying to understand kind of like a general, I like to approach these things from like a sociological perspective. So I always take the greater input of like what people out there are saying. Like, what do other people think about faith and medicine? What are, X, Y, and Z? And came across, and I'll just touch on it because it has to do with the brain specifically, but neuroplasticity, which we've talked about recently with Pastor Keith and being positive and versus negative. But this was more so talking about how Jesus spoke in parables and why he spoke in parables. And it's because transformation doesn't come by information. It comes by like actual, by change and seeing stuff like that. But he spoke in parables because parables are more so metaphors, and your brain actually, if you were to just come and say, why are you selfish and why do you do this, people wouldn't have listened to him. Like they would have probably turned away from him and be like, why are you telling me that? But he talked about having, the plank of wood in the, and it sticks with people. Or if he talks about, I am, the branch and you are the vines, like people, you can visualize that and your body is more receptive to it, hence the neuroplasticity, and it sticks in your brain. But this was thousands of years ago, before neuroplasticity was even studied. It was just God is science, Jesus is science, and using those things to help create the Bible and the Word and the truth, and just really fascinating.
I don't know. You just took me somewhere else. I was thinking about fasting and how your body changes. Like if you just do straight water, right? It changes the composition of your body, and like how you're. I was reading something. It talks about like how some of the cells start to you eat some of your fat cells, and you're eating like all of the energy that you have stored right in your body. But God tells us to fast, and part of it is like for the spiritual reasons, but there's also like physical stuff naturally that happens in our body. And I think some of the things that God tells us, he doesn't tell us why, but right in obedience we're blessed. And so some of that stuff that happens like medically by kind of just abiding by some of the things he tells us, I was just like, man, like there's so many blessings in obedience that we don't even know.